Hey guys, it's Paradise, and do you know that the first weapon in any Monster Hunter game to get designed is the Greatsword? Well, it was for a number of reasons, and we found out why in the latest IGN First for Monster Hunter Wilds. This time, Casey focused on the weapons, which is something that many of us have been waiting for. The article and video dives into some critical things like general weapon design philosophy and how things have been adjusted in Wilds for hunting. Whether you're a long-time fan or someone looking to play Wilds for the first time, there's a ton of interesting things that will make you understand Monster Hunter a little bit better. Well, let's start off with something that isn't directly related to weapons but does massively impact them. One of the biggest things included in the interview with the Capcom team is that they got confirmation that decorations will once again be craftable in Monster Hunter Wilds. In Base World, a lot of people had problems finishing their builds as some decorations were pure RNG, meaning that you could play thousands of hours and still be missing a single decoration that you need to make your build go from good to excellent, which is a big thing when you're grinding the endgame. This means you are able to craft the decoration for the skill you need and slot it into your armor or weapon to build some nice builds. However, it is still worth noting that Tokida did say that you will be able to craft decorations with a single skill, making it sound like you will still need to go RNG hunting for multi-skill decorations for the most optimal builds. Maybe it's time to dust off our old Mix Set Monday series and bring it back, but maybe in a new form. We know that weapon changes are coming in the final game, as we have learnt a ton about them from the community update. One of the weapons that is getting a major overhaul is the Lance. As Tokida said, we received a lot of feedback during the open beta test, and to be honest, one of the largest reactions we got was that the Lance isn't embodying its concept as a weapon. Our intention was for players to guard in a variety of ways, sticking to a monster as required and counter-attacking, but there were a lot of actions that weren't working properly, such as it being hard to use and perform the right action at the right time, actions going off by mistake, actions coming out late, and so on. Surrounded by so many other actions that worked properly, it ended up feeling like a pretty dull weapon. Now we're making major improvements to this for the release version, and we hope you look forward to that. Well, it does sound like they're heading in the right direction for the Lance, as while some of the new moves were great to pull off, but when it came to guarding and countering, it sometimes felt restrictive and a bit clunky, so it's great to hear that they're making improvements to let you stick to the monster even better. For all the hunting horn duders out there though, IGN asked the Capcom team about the general concept of the hunting horn in Wilds, and it looks like the team are going for a unique approach for the weapon, with it dealing massive damage in a large area around it. We played the hunting horn in the Wilds beta, and it was actually a bunch of fun with its new additions, in particular the new offset attack. However, let's hear what the devs have to say about it directly. They say, at the outset, I told the team I wanted the concept of this weapon to be that it can produce proper amounts of damage when used where it performs best, the area around you. Instead of being able to unleash one attack after the next, you can use something like the Echo Bubble to deal damage by controlling the area. Since we have this element of sound that other weapons can't produce, how do you make use of that while outputting damage? That's the kind of thing we challenged ourselves to do with the weapon. Instead of thinking that it's all about damage, we care more about making the most out of each weapon's personality. Now that you're able to carry two weapons in the game, there was some discussion during the open beta about the most powerful choice being to buff yourself with the hunting horn before switching to another weapon and fighting. We're tuning the release version, balancing with the end content in mind, to make sure the hunting horn isn't the only choice for a secondary weapon, by having self buffs to be worthwhile but not too strong. It's interesting that we've heard a lot about the hunting horn's self buffs getting balance changes, but not much about the heavy bowgun's demon ammo, which actually became one of the preferred methods of pocket buffing yourself in the beta. Maybe this is one of the balance changes that they aren't ready to talk about, and the final game will be including many more balance changes to each of the weapons, and some of which weren't revealed in the recent community update video. But something cool that we have learned in the interview is how the teams behind the weapons were made up in terms of the staff. We always wanted to know how many people are focused on a particular weapon, and in the interview they said there are some staff members who oversee multiple weapon types, which ultimately makes for 6 individual planners who are responsible for player experience. He said, "We don't just have game designers, of course. We include artists and animation designers to discuss details like what kind of movements would be good and how that may mean a weapon could be better used in different ways as we polish the weapons. We didn't have staff members assigned to weapons at the start. Their number grows as development progresses. We generally begin by developing the greatsword as a prototype, then verify weapons like the sword and shield and heavy bowgun, applying the knowledge that we got from there to the other weapons as we create them." Now, this is pretty much how we thought it would be, but it's nice to have confirmation, as we did mention at the start of the video that the greatsword is the first weapon to be designed in every Monster Hunter game, and in the interview they spoke about why this is. They say the greatsword is an all-rounder weapon, so we generally begin with it when creating animations. It's one of the first weapons we created for the original Monster Hunter, and there's a strong sense of wanting to challenge ourselves with the greatsword first. We felt excited when we made our first focus strike for the greatsword, thinking that if we were able to create something that feels this good, we'd be able to do even more with the other weapons. Something else that's interesting to know is that monsters can be pre-wounded before you even fight. This means you can get some spicy damage right at the beginning of a hunt. The pre-wound is a result of the monster's environment, as we learnt that turf wars and environmental interactions will naturally cause wounds on monsters, so when you start a fight in Wilds, make sure to check for wounds on them. All those interactions are really cool, and most players probably won't even notice them. The interview wasn't the only cool thing though out of all of this information, as there were little tidbits that we saw in the gameplay that gives us a first look at some of the weapons. For example, we got to see a short glimpse of the Wilds version of the Rathian Greatsword, but perhaps more interesting for those hunting horn users out there, you may have noticed a hunting horn in particular that we haven't seen in a Monster Hunter game before. People are speculating that this is the Raydao hunting horn, and if you look at the characteristics of it, it clearly looks like it could be that. Alongside this, we know we'll be getting some more gameplay for Monster Hunter Wilds, as it seems like we will be getting a full hunt and first look at Gypsaros at the Taipei Game Show 2025, as the community team will be co-streaming on the stage show. This will be happening from the 24th of January at 7 PM PT, or if you're in GMT, it's 3 AM on the 25th of January. But don't worry if you miss it, as we will be keeping you up to date here if anything interesting happens. Lastly, there is a small thing, but we know some of you will be interested in it if you are deep in Monster Hunter, and it's a collaboration between Notori and Monster Hunter, as they revealed the icon for Arkveld as part of a chair they're releasing for Wilds. The icon for Arkveld makes the monster look like even more of a menace than the in-game footage. So that is it for now, but there will be more news dropping soon for this massive game, and the game itself isn't even too far away from release. Here at Arekkz Gaming, we're two friends who love to play games. You have me, Paradise, as well as 26.
Our goal is to keep the videos as concise as possible by cutting out any of the fluff and focusing on what really matters with high quality videos.
So make sure you're subscribed down below for more videos on your favorite games coming very, very soon.